Good afternoon, everybody. There's quite a few of you in the room already. Thank you so much for joining us early. Want to hang around a minute or two so the last few people can join us. Please be patient with us. And then we'll kick this thing off. As you can see, Tim is in the room. We're very pleased to have him with us today. Tim is our CEO. 16 attendees, and we're not even a minute over yet. Hello, everybody. If you're just joining us now, we're going to hold on there for another minute or so to see who else is going to come in a couple of minutes late. So I want to hold the meeting open before we start for about 2 minutes. So 15:32. We're at 15:31 now. We want people in the room. That's awesome. Okay, let's do this thing. Shall we do this thing, Tim? What do you think?
Ready.
Okay. Hello, everybody. And for the first time, we're meeting in 2025. So I hope January has been an awesome start of the year for you. We're about a month into the working year. Welcome. Welcome back to the Alumni Webinar Series. As we spoke before, it's open to you, your friends, your colleagues, your bosses, whoever would like to attend. We've got some exciting stuff happening this year, not just the webinar series. We're playing with some other ideas, which we will share with you later during the course of this month and early next month to see what you think. And we'll talk about that, as I say, when that starts to hit us. Today, we're talking about how to unseat your competitors. All right, always been told, don't go mess with that account because it belongs to name your competitor. Well, how do we change that? So today we've got Tim talking to us. Tim is dubbed the professor because of his passion for effective learning. Now, Tim is the CEO of the company, and he founded the Sales Institute in 2000. He's worked with sales teams and their leadership to increase performance over 20 years. We've worked with customers like Microsoft, Dimension Data, and First National Bank. Tim, thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time today. On this note, I'd like to hand over to you to talk about that subject for us. Guys, please remember, the mics are open, so don't feel that you can't talk. And also, question and answers is enabled. I'll be monitoring the conversation, looking for any questions, and I'll help you bring it to Tim's attention if you're too shy to speak for yourself. Tim, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's always so nice when we do these sessions to see the people who have been in our programs before. So I love it when I see names that I recognize. It brings back all those memories. So welcome with us. Great to have you here. So as you heard, the topic today is how to unseat your competitors. Now, I just want to explain how we got to this topic. I was doing some coaching a few months ago, and this was the question that was asked of me. The person I was coaching said, you know what, every time I try and speak to a competitor, I'm getting this, we're happy with who we've got. We are, you push the price, so your differentiator is price. How can you help us? You seem all the same. All you're trying to do is sell me something. So the question was, what do I do when there is a competitor in the house? So where we're working with a current supplier, we're quite comfortable with them, and you're going to get that a lot in your sales. So what I want to show you today is 8 things that you can do that will allow you to eat their lunch is the way we describe it, is to get into a competitor's account. So just a couple of things from up front, as John said, please, we are looking at Q&A and chat. So at the end, I'll have a look at any questions anybody's asked, and we will allow time to answer that. We will unmute you. If you have any questions, then feel free just to ask them there, and we'll sort that out. The other thing is we often get asked, is this recorded? Yes. We will give you the recording, and we'll also give you the presentation if you would like the presentation from us. So to get going, I'd like you to give me a thumbs up if any of you have this problem. So you're talking to a customer and you get one of these comments. You guys are all the same. You just give me your best price. Don't try and do anything special. You don't have to do all this sales stuff. Just give me the price. If you're the best price, you'll get the deal. Or we're happy. I see some hands going up there. So, we're happy with our current supplier. We're not looking at making a change right now. So these are typical things that happen all the time. And this is the challenge I'd like to help you resolve today. So the first part that I just wanted to say is these are very natural challenges. They happen all the time. They're pretty common in sales. In this case, though, it's specifically, I want to look at it from a competitive situation. Now, here's the challenge, and I really do hate this image. By the way, isn't the Copilot great when you want to get clever pictures? So I typed into Copilot, please give me a picture of a salesperson in shark-infested waters. And this is what I got. So the issue is that a lot of us are in very mature markets. There is the opportunity of what we call blue ocean, which is finding a niche, finding a new conversation, finding a new product, a new service. So, there are ways of doing that. You look at Discovery, for example, started out as a medical aid, moved into insurance, financial services. They found other niches. Now, there is that approach, which is what we call blue ocean strategy. However, what I want to talk about today is what if you're in a situation where you are fairly commoditized? In other words, you're selling products where the differentiator is in your service, less so than the product itself. So you might be an IT company, or you might be selling services that there are other competitors selling very similar services. So my question, or the aim of today, is try to answer these questions. How do I get and I'm talking customer here, but I'm talking about potential customers. So you identify a customer, how do I get their attention? The second one is you're only going to win these deals if you create more value in the relationship. So when we look at how you differentiate, it's got to be that your potential customer sees value in it. So if you give them a really clear value prop, they will listen to it if it touches the right spots. A lot of the time we just don't differentiate enough. The third one is, how do I create or improve the impression of my company when there's been a problem? I did some training over the weekend, and one of the comments was, the people have such long memories. The one guy was saying that just the day before, the guy said, you people at name of company are awful. Your service is terrible. You've let me down. You didn't have product. And the salesperson said, when did this happen? And the guy said, 10 years ago. So he was still remembering a problem from 10 years ago. So what I want to show you is we are working in these mature industries that are really overcrowded. We can potentially be perceived as commodity, and the competition can be ferocious. So under those conditions, how do you unseat your competition? So what I want to look at in the next couple of minutes are these 8 things that you need to have a look at. So the first one is understand that you, as the salesperson, are the value proposition. In other words, you are the advisor and you are creating the value. So when you look at how do you unseat your competitor, the responsibility sits with you as sales. So when we talk about, you are the value proposition, it's your ability to step into my world, be an advisor, a consultant, and communicate the value to me. So yes, your company, your brand, your pricing, all of those things count. However, the value proposition we're talking about is you. So I want to show you how you do that. The second thing you've got to do is capture mind share. Where we make a terrible mistake is we try and sell immediately. So the first time we phone, we're trying to sell stuff. So I had a phone call earlier, somebody trying to sell me an extended warranty on my car. But the reason that they don't get very far with that approach is it's all about them. There's nothing that talks to me and what I need. So I get this long-winded speech about how much money I can save and how cheap this thing is and all the wonderful things that I can cover. But at no point is there any kind of mindset capture. There's no conversation that's making it personal to me. So when we talk about capture mind share, we believe that a fundamental part of training or selling is teach. Is you've got to be teaching me stuff I don't know, providing me with insights. You've got to understand my business. You've got to understand how business works and how what you do talks to my business. So that's what we mean by capture mind share. The third way you unseat your competitors is you have to have a consistent and clear engagement plan. The research says that people will typically only speak to you in any detail after about 8 different interactions. So if you're giving up after the first interaction, there's a big problem. So when we talk about an engagement plan, you need to have an approach which consistently talks to potential customers. So this is where you might have lost a customer or they've gone to a competitor or you want to win them. You have to have a very clear engagement plan that's really valuable to me as a customer and where you can, share that value on a consistent basis. Then, four is my favorite. You need to create what's known as a beachhead. So a beachhead is a terrible army term where you will go onto the beach, you will secure that area first. Once you've secured that area, you land and expand from there. So a lot of people want to take over the entire business up front. A much better approach is just get your foot in the door. Show value in a smaller area that your competitors might not be able to do. And I'll give you some examples of beachheads. But once you've delivered the value, you can then start expanding. Now, related to that is if you want to get traction inside a business, point number 5 is you need to have a Mikey. A Mikey is a friend. You don't speak Afrikaans. So consensus means that you need to build loyalty inside of the business. You can't just go to the core decision maker. So in our case, we can't just persuade the learning and development and sales leadership. We need to build a support within the salespeople, the sales team leads, the contact center. The more we can build support below, the more they can help us get into the organization. So we call that build consensus. Point 6 is help customers discover something about themselves. So the more you are diagnostic, and I'll give you a really good example of how we do this, where we teach people about themselves and we use that as our method for getting into the business. And I'll give you a case study of where it won us a very nice deal. And then create a preference. In other words, how do you get them to prefer you? How do you get them to like you? And we'll talk about how you do that. And then the last one is develop executive presence. So executive presence is are you the kind of person I want to buy from? So are you coming across confidently? So when I say about executive presence is if I'm presenting to you now and I mumble my words and I look really shy and my body language is bad and I'm not dynamic and you one tone and you're just not enjoying this presentation, there's no way that you're going to want to engage with me again. So my confidence, my body language, my use of voice, my charisma, my knowledge, all of those things hopefully make you think, hang on, this person knows something. I want to engage with them. So we call that executive presence. So these are the 8 elements that I want to talk to you about. So let's get going. So the first one is you are the value proposition. So let me explain how this works. When you look at value and how you deliver value, typically in a relationship, you would start at level 1. So at level 1, it's very transactional. In other words, you are delivering a product or service. People are buying from you because they pretty much have to. You've got a product that they need. And sometimes you will get in on that where, you might have been recommended or you've got product at the right time, you've got stock available, or you come in at a really good price. Now, at a level 1, what you get is it's very low economic value to your customer. So they might get a bit of discount. There's no real value. And the relationship isn't deep. You're getting the deal because you've got product and you're the cheapest, or they have to buy from you. Now, what will happen over time is you will move to level 2, which means that now you're delivering great service. So you become a preferred supplier. People are buying into your experience, they're buying into support or service, and they're buying into you as a supplier because you're doing a great job. Because you're doing a good job, they like you. So that means that we've moved right to the right-hand side with relationship value. So they like you, you're delivering value to the business, you keep your promises, you're doing what you say you will. So they start building up the relationship. Level 3 is you start talking about business value. So you start talking about the return on investment on the solution. You're talking about business outcomes, and they start phoning you to talk to you about what is the best solution. How do we put this in place? How do we save money? How can you help us solve these problems? So level 3, look at what's happened. We've moved from high relationship to economic value. So we're delivering really good value. So we're showing them ROI. We're doing a good job with regards to the business elements. Now, you'll notice level 4 is where we're aiming. This is where you are strategic. You are going to them and say, I was thinking about you. I've got these great ideas. They trust you as an advisor. You are part of their strategic planning. Now, in a typical sale, you would start at level 1, go to level 2, go to level 3, go to level 4. So if you were the incumbent or you had an initial opportunity, that's what you would do. Now, drum roll, here is where you need people with, our understanding of how you unseat a competitor. When you unseat a competitor, you start at level 4. So I want to stress that. If you are the incumbent, you're already in the business, you will move through the levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you want to unseat a competitor, you have to have your conversations initially at a level 4. So in other words, the way you get into a business is by having strategic conversations, not transactional conversations. Now, let me tell you where we get this wrong. And, you don't have to be honest and kind of put it on with thumbs up. But think about if this is what you're doing. The typical way that people get into a competitive situation is we believe that if we go in at a lower price, or if we do something really good, we go out of our way or we make a special offer, That would be the thing to get us into that business. And it might work. I'm not arguing that. You might get in because you are cheaper than everybody else. However, typically it doesn't, according to the research, make a huge difference when you're unseating a competitor. So trying to compete where, it's apples versus apples. I've got a solution, they've got a solution, and I'm trying to compete on a product or a service level, very difficult to differentiate that. Sun Tzu had this lovely comment, is that unless you've got a 3-to-1 advantage, don't hit the customer head on. So unless you've got 3-to-1 advantage in terms of features and benefits and pricing, this isn't the way to unseat your competitor. What you're doing with strategic conversations is getting them dissatisfied with what they're currently doing. Are they implementing in the right way? Are they using the product in the right way? Are they competing? Are they meeting their sales targets or their revenue targets or whatever it is? So when you look at a level 4, you're having strategic conversations. Now, I will guarantee that when you talk to your current your customers and you say to them, what are your challenges? Most of their challenges are trying to figure out strategy. So Dave Lasky, you'll meet him next time, who does a lot of our lead generation work. He was telling me about a customer this morning. And when he said, what do you need? The person said, we're not hitting our targets. We can't measure what our salespeople are doing. They are struggling to differentiate. They are only focused on one product. They're struggling to sell the other products. Now, I'm sure you would resonate with that this is typically what's happening. Are we doing the right work? Are we talking to the right people? Do we have the right messaging? We're not getting deals. We don't know why. We're not closing deals. We don't know why. Now, all of those are strategic conversations. So if you know where your customers are really battling and where they're battling to try and understand things, how to hire, how to use technology, how to get things done more easily, those are strategic conversations. So what I'm saying is, and understand this, the aim of today's presentation, we are talking strategy because there's a competitor in there. And I want to dissatisfy the customer with what they're currently doing by saying, you might need to consider doing something differently. So I have to convince you to change something in order for you to accept me as a supplier who can help you do that. So if I'm going to talk to that particular customer that Dave mentioned, I can't say, oh, we deliver training, use us, we're nice. Been doing this for so many years, we're very talented. The conversation's got to be, if you are struggling in these areas, we would like to talk to you about how potentially you can make the necessary changes. And it's not about trying to sell you anything. It's about being helpful at a strategic level. The more I understand strategy and communicate strategy, then I can start talking to you about my products or services. I really hope that makes sense. And I'd like you to think about this. What are the strategic discussions I should be having as a salesperson? So if I look at what I'm supplying right now, what is the top level? So for example, I'm very involved in technology. And the big conversation right now is AI. So I could try and sell you courses on AI. Or I could say, what is your AI strategy? How are you looking at AI? And what do you need to put in place for you to leverage this fast-moving world? What's the business value of having an AI strategy? Now, once I've had that conversation, I can talk to you about how we help you solve this problem. Okay, so hopefully those were enough examples. So what I'm saying is the conversations you have to get into a new customer, your marketing, your sales, your interactions have to be strategic. And if you want to chat to me about what that means, I'm going to make an offer later on. I'll book some time with us and we can help you transfer or do this transition to strategic conversations. Now, I love this quote from one of the best audiences that I've worked or read. His name's Ian Narino. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. But his comment is, when all things are equal, your customer is entitled to make the decision on price. If there's nothing better available, they have no compelling reason to change. So that's why we have to talk strategy. All right, 2, mind share. So in our professional setting, and if you've attended this course, apologies, we ask this question. It comes from research done by the Sales Executive Council. And the question is, what drives customer loyalty? And we give the people on the course 4 options. And we say that the first one is the brand, the company brand. Second one is after sales service. The third one is price to value. And the fourth one is the sales experience. And people always say to me, price, product and service, company and brand. When I say to them, what drives the loyalty? And what might surprise you is the sales experience, the pre-sales experience. In this particular study, which was a big one, said that 56% of loyalty, so customers said the pre-sales experience, my exposure to a salesperson, makes up the majority of the value that, or the loyalty that is created. Now, you might ask me, so what's in this pre-sales experience? And it talks to mindshare, is when customers were asked, what do you want from a sales professional? These are the things that they came up with. So number one, it's educate me on new perspectives. So give me insight. Let me understand the changes. Teach me how things work. Work with me to create new solutions. Help me make good decisions. Help me show me the results. Listen to me, understand my needs. Help me avoid potential pitfalls. Now, if you look at this, none of these are sales techniques. They're actually relationship and business-related conversations. Is teach me, guide me, show me what I need to do, let me know what the changes are I need to make. So these were the drivers of mindshare. So my question is, when you're looking at winning over a customer, it's not about making 50 calls a day. You can cold call yourself silly and not be delivering value and not having a good proposition, and people don't want to talk to you. So the question here is, are you delivering value? Are you teaching me stuff? Are you working with me to come up with new ways of solving my business? Are you showing me how you deliver results for me? Are you listening to me? Are you understanding my needs? Are you helping me avoid pitfalls? Now, if you want to unseat the competitor, I'll guarantee they're not doing this because they're complacent. They've been doing this a while. They become entitled. They start cutting corners. And you, as the person who really wants that business, you are far more eager to do these things. So to teach, to give me new ideas and help me improve on my business. So I mentioned earlier around economic and strategic value. What we need to be doing is answering very specific questions that your clients have. So for example, if I'm talking to HR or learning and development, the question that I would ask, for example, is how do you leverage the different generations? Because this is a huge thing right now. We worked with a client the other day, and their biggest problem is they don't know how to deal with Gen X and Gen Y. Gen Y and Gen Z. They just have no clue how to deal with this new generation. And there's so much conflict because you've got people like me who are Gen X, who are in a lot of the management positions, who have no clue how to deal with this new generation worker. Now, if you look at the millennials now, if you look at their age, you're looking at they're hitting 50. So now millennials are starting to be the general worker, and the millennials and the new Gen Zs, they're starting to be our new, the new worker, and millennials are starting to go into positions of authority, which means that I need to know how I'm going to, hire them, do my onboarding? How do you train them? How do you motivate them? Which is a strategic conversation, which is compelling to HR or L&D. So I'm not saying you need to use the Sales Institute because we can teach you this. I'm saying we can help you with this generational problem. The second one here is, cost of business is getting higher and higher. It's been proved we have to spend more money to get customers. We want to talk to you about how do you deal with that? How do you maximize your investment in getting new customers or your cost of business? Third one, how do you find the right people? Question we get all the time. How do I hire? How do I find the right people? Where do I find good salespeople? Now, do you notice these are strategic conversations? They have economic and strategic value, and I am building mind share by building these themes. So the reason you can see the 70s theme in the was that 60s in the background was have a theme. So we are going to talk about these particular themes, and you build that out so that you can influence the customers that you want to build that relationship with. So the question here is, number one, you've got to move to being strategic. Number two, you've got to be building mind share. Number three, you got to have a clear engagement plan. Now, what I mean by that is you can't stop after point A. You need a plan that is going to make use of multiple media, multiple methods of influence, and you've got to be flippant creative. And what I mean by that is some of the stuff will happen on the website, some of it will happen on social media. It might be events, it might be content, it might be you dropping off a you might be dropping off a book, you might be giving them a reference, you might be showing them a video, you might be inviting them to an event like this. So when you look at how you are going to create the engagement plan, you need to make sure that you are building it out on a consistent basis so that you have a plan that you can implement, and you will get no's. But if you're creative and you structure your plan, so if you know the customer that you want to work with, you know what their needs are, what their strategies are, you will then build out the approach accordingly. So I had an example where the book that study came from earlier called The Challenger Sale. I wanted to talk to a specific customer about key account management. And the same people wrote a book called The Challenger Customer. And I knew this guy had key account managers, and I needed to interact with him. So I bought the book. I had a copy of the Challenger, it's called The Challenger Customer. And then I just put a post-it note in and I highlighted and I said, please read this chapter, it solves a problem for you. And then when you're done, call me and we'll talk. And it was a great way to get attention. So what I'm saying is whether you're using LinkedIn, and this Dave will teach you, I'm sure, next time, this multi-channel approach of LinkedIn, telephone, email, and other creative ways of engaging customers. You have to earn their trust. It's probably the most important point of this entire presentation. You've got to earn the right to sell. You can't just arrive and say, right, how many do you need? You have to be engaging with me, telling me how you deliver value, and I've got to believe that you are collaborating with me in order for me to achieve my objectives. Otherwise, I'm not going to talk to you. Then, so that's number three, is create a beachhead. So I wanted to give you some really clever language, and you're welcome. There are two bits of language that we use that are incredibly persuasive. So the first one is if you have a customer who's saying, we are currently happy with our current provider, your question should be, I've heard good things about them. What is it about the provider you really like? So you don't trash them. You don't tell them, well, they don't and they bad and I worked with them before and they're awful or whatever. What you're saying is, I've heard good things about them, even if you haven't. Or you could say, yes, I know that company. And then you say, what is it you like about them? When they tell you, so in our case, There was one where we were competing, and the person said, well, they've got a good name. We've seen their offices. They seem professional. So I said, absolutely. They've got a great brand. They've spent a lot of money on that brand. So the comment that I then said, and watch out, I said, 100%. Are you also looking for a way to? In other words, I take one of my differentiators and I say, are you also looking for a way to? Which means that they focused on what that company does well. By me saying, are you also looking for a way to? I'm putting doubt in their minds and I'm finding a beachhead. So I'll give you an example of how we did this. So there was already training, they already had a supplier. And I said to them, very, very good company. They do great sales conferences. Good choice. I said, I'm just interested. You spoke to me about the specifically negotiation skills. Are you also looking for support in that area? Because that's an area we specialize in. I've also used key account management because we specialize in that. I've also used sales leadership because we're pretty good at that. And if the competitor can't do that, you've got a beachhead. So we've had it before where there's been a competitor, but we've also delivered training. And then once you've got the beachhead, you then land and expand. So then you start talking about other areas and you continue the relationship. So that's the first bit of language. Are you also looking for a way to? All right. The other thing that you want to do is I have this wonderful word, and I brought in one of Dave's words as well here to teach you. I use the word augment. Dave uses the word support. So when somebody says we already have a supplier, I'm going to say, you know what, our aim is not to kick that person out. You've invested, you're happy with what they're doing. There's no problem with that. Our job is to augment what they're doing. And then I figure out a way, how can I augment? So then I will again go back to what about your key account managers? What about your sales leadership? And then Tracy's got this really good assessment, which most of you have probably done, which is our behavioral assessment. We often use that as augment, where we say, we'll help you hire the right people. We'll tell you why the current people are not performing and what to do about it. And we'll help you make those changes through coaching. Again, it's an augmented service. So that allows us to create a beachhead, just allows us to get our foot in the door. So those are two really clever bits of language. Are you looking for a way to, and then augment and support? So Dave says, we would like to support you in. So where I say augment, he says support. Tomato. Similar logic is we'd like to support you in this area. And then we carry on with the conversation. All right. Then that's point 4. Point 5, and I'm not going to go into detail on this. This is in pro selling and our account management course. So a lot of you probably have seen this. If you haven't, again, please come back to us and talk to us about this. But what we teach in this session is that there are certain people, if you make friends with them inside the organization, you are able to then unseat a competitor. The biggest deal that we've had at Sales Institute was because of having a person in Cape Town who introduced me to the sales operations manager in Johannesburg. And if I hadn't had, his name was Dave as well, but if I hadn't had Dave in Cape Town, I wouldn't have got the deal in Joburg. So point number 5 is build support inside that organization and build it with people who can influence. You don't have to rush straight through to the decision maker. I keep fighting with people about this. Often people will say they were taught to go to the executive, work your way down. We don't believe that. We believe you start at the bottom and work your way up. Started at the bottom, now we're here. So it's a case of work with the typical people who are going to use your technology, benefit from your services, benefit from your product. Get support there. They will tell you who to speak to inside the business. And then you can negotiate your way up the ladder. Now, I can tell you 4 or 5 deals we've won because of this, of just finding the market. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these types of people, But I want to show you the people you're looking for. You're looking for go-getters, people who are really ambitious, people who are willing to do the work. They're influential, people listen to them. You ask them to arrange a meeting, they do. And you will know a go-getter by how they are. They just energizer bunnies. They're incredibly influential. Then you get the teacher who communicates value. So the teacher, somebody like me, who's got gift of the gab, can communicate vision, can communicate value easily, and they are persuasive because they're good with words. And then the third one's the surprising one, which is the skeptic. So the skeptic is the person you've got to convince, but once you convince them, people know that if you've convinced, like in our case, Tracy's a skeptic. So if you convince Tracy, you're going to get the deal because I trust Tracy 100%. If Tracy tells me we must do this, I know she's done the research and done the due diligence. So she's very influential because she pays attention to detail. I definitely don't. So in the research, it showed that if you've got this go-getter, the teacher, and the skeptic, if you choose to talk to them first, you will get much further inside of the business and push the competitor out because you're building support internally. And we have proved this to be true. So please, again, I know when you attend my sessions, very overwhelming, lots of info. The offer is come and talk to us. If you want to talk about how does this work, what does it mean, come and chat to us about these things. And then, so that's 5. I'll summarize in a sec. So the 6 is get them to discover something about themselves. So I mentioned to you with Tracy that she's got this behavioral analysis. That teaches you a lot about yourself, which allows us to build relationship and allows us to then, start with the beachhead. Now, Jean's a little different. He'll run a diagnostic. So if you say, we're struggling with this, John will say, let's spend an hour understanding your requirements. We'll run this diagnostic from a business perspective, look at your staffing, look at your skills, and then we can make a recommendation. So again, we don't try, and people have been exposed to us. You'll notice we don't do the hard sell. We want to be helpful first. So the more you can do diagnostics, assessments. So, like you talk about AI, the idea then would be, well, let's chat about what is AI, how does it work, and how do you start going about building out the strategy and give that away. So do an assessment. And then once you've given that away, use that as your beachhead. So you have to get people to understand more about themselves. Don't talk to them, make them process. So stop talking, get them to do work. Get them to fill out forms, fill out evaluations, or whatever it is. So that's the help them, let them teach something about themselves, about culture, about behavior, and about systems. I love this little chart. It's a great way of figuring out how can we build this beachhead? How do we get them to do the analysis and the assessment? So it's really a powerful way of getting into an account and, again, unseating your competitor. All right, 2 more. The number 7, creative preference. Again, this is in our pro selling course. Keep the focus on value and then be clever about how you build rapport. Get them to like you. Go out of your way. Be helpful. Deliver value. Get into their story. Be the person they want to buy from. So there is this relationship building. There is going the extra mile because your competitors are lazy. When you've been in an account too much, you take too much for granted and you stop doing the cute things. It's like a relationship. Once you've been in a relationship too long, sometimes you can forget to do the cute things. So it's the same here. You got to do the cute things. Get them to like you, get their attention, do different things, invite them to events, be helpful. So when you look at creating preference, you really do want to understand their world, build rapport. Yeah, I like that, Dave. Be interested and interesting. So build rapport, really listen, and tell stories, get into their stories. And then there's one more thing, and again, I know I've gone into this very quickly. But all of this has supporting information and value and learning and resources we have available. So why we do this 1 hour session, 1.5 hour session, is to tell you what you should be looking at. So I have now said there are 8 things to look at. Please go and have a look at the list and then come back to us and talk to us about these things. So this is not a complete training session. Some of these things can take 2 days to teach. So that's the trustworthy is become trustworthy, be likable. People do buy from people they like and trust. So here's the edge. Because the other competitor is not working as hard, you do have an opportunity here to unseat them we've spoken strategy, but now to do the cute things, now to go the extra mile, now to deliver value and go out of your way to earn their business. And then number 8, drum roll, is I mentioned you need to have executive presence. Now, again, this is an entire program that we run, but I just want to show you the 5 C's of executive presence. So if you want to be the kind of person that people are going to buy from, number 1, you've got to be credible. Are you competent? Are you knowledgeable? Number 2, do you believe in yourself? Are you confident? So do you just exude confidence? Do people want to be with you? When you're in the room, are you the person they want to talk to? Now, you can build that, by the way. So you can build credibility, you can build confidence. Composure. People are looking at how you deal with pressure and how you deal with rejection. So if you handle that well, you have composure, you stay calm, and you're controlled under pressure, people are drawn to that. People are drawn to people in control and who are calm. Connection. Do you relate to other people empathetically? We love people who listen and who get us. So you need to, when you want to build executive presence, be a great listener, be empathetic. Don't talk about yourself. Let them talk about them. Sadly, people are very self-centered. They might pretend they care about you, but actually they want to talk about themselves. So in a customer situation, you want to deliver empathy. I get it. I understand your frustrations. I know where you're battling. It's not easy. That is empathy and building connection. And the last one, believe it or not, charisma could be one or more of the other 4. So charisma doesn't mean you have to be outgoing. Doesn't mean that you have to be the life of the party. I've seen some people who are much quieter and reserved, but people are just attracted to them. And it's because they've got the others. They've got credibility, confidence, composure, and they're empathetic. So charisma, believe it or not, comes from the other 4. Right, so I'm sure you're exhausted here, but let me just give you the 8 again, just to refresh your memory, and then I'm going to leave the last few minutes for next steps and questions or comments. So the first thing I said to you is be the value proposition. It comes from you. You need to be the advisor, not your company, but they can help you. But you've got to be at the spearhead. You've got to be at the front end. Capture mind share, teach them stuff, run events, work with them, teach them things, help them make decisions, be strategic, teach them about the economic value of what you do, as well as the strategic value of what you do. Have a clear engagement plan. Have a plan that manages your activities on a weekly basis. And please don't give up early. You keep wanting to nurture that relationship. Aim to create a beachhead, and I spoke a lot about that. Build consensus, get the right people, have the right Mikey. Help customers discover something about themselves. Use diagnostics and assessments. Create a preference, be sexy. Create that preference. Be someone people want to be around. So it's about building rapport, building trust, going the extra mile. And then develop executive presence is be the person people will want to buy from. It's just a calm, confidence, composed, empathetic, caring kind of a person that develops charisma and executive presence. So that's what I wanted to show you. So I just want to mention, you've got our details. So the you've got our email address, you've got our, mine or Jean or Tracy. Please, this is not about a trick to get you to come to us so that we sell you more training. Our focus, and I mean this sincerely, is to help you in growing and achieving your objectives. So please, at any point, chat to us. If you're struggling in any way or you've done the training already, you need more, you need help, you need guidance, please, the offer is to chat to us. All right, so I'm going to turn over to Jean again for any questions or comments that you might have. I'm going to switch on all of the cameras, the microphones. Over to you, Jean.
Thank you, sir. How's it, everybody? Okay, so any questions, any thoughts, any comments? Anybody want to talk about what they've heard, what they think? Looking forward to that in the Q&A. I haven't seen anything in Q&A yet. Dave's been nice and active on the chat line. Thanks, Dave. Louise, thank you for that.
John, I'm not the administrator, so I can't switch on the microphones.
I can do it.
Oh, I can allow mic. So if you have a question, if you just put your hand up, and then I'll allow your mic. Any specific questions or comments from what we've discussed? Louise is very insightful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm just interested. Please give me feedback here. The way you experience these sessions, because some of you have been in others of ours, the information we give, do you find it helpful versus overwhelming? So do you feel the balance is right in the terms of the information? It's just really important to us that we're delivering value in these sessions. Are you comfortable with the level we're good? Okay, so Yolandi, thank you. So I'm seeing some good thumbs up. Okay. Marlies, you have a question. Let me unmute you quickly. Or was your thumb up there? Let me allow your mic just in case.
Sorry, it was supposed to be a thumbs up.
Okay. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much. Yourself?
Okay, excellent. Thanks. Nice to chat. Thank you, but thanks for the thumbs up.
Okay, we're going to miss you.
Good.
All right, we've got a couple of minutes left. Tim, if you're okay with it, I would like to talk about next session.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, next session, same date, funnily enough, because of course we've got 28 days in February. So the 19th of March will be our next session, and Dave will be talking to us about the funnel. It's all about the funnel, the sales funnel. You may remember that if you've ever done a pro sales course with us, you know what a funnel looks like, right? And Dave is the master of funnel management. He's going to tell us about that. Please don't forget to invite your friends and colleagues. And again, I know Tim said it, and I'm saying it again. We are available to you. You're part of the Sales Institute family. We want to hear from you. We want your thoughts. We want your questions. We want to help you, because sales is like anything else. You're not going to go to a doctor who got his degree 20 years ago and has learned nothing new since. Okay, we're professionals here. You need to keep learning. You need to keep training yourself. You need to keep on top of what you're doing. And it's not about the Sales Institute selling your sales courses. It's about us helping you develop your career and stay up to date with the thinking. So please reach out. Tim,
John,
myself, or Tracy, we're all available to you.
John?
Yes, sir.
Can we ask Dave? May I ask Dave to switch on his camera? I'd like to introduce Dave to the group.
That's a
because
cool
he's
idea.
new to the business. Dave, are you there? I just want to introduce you to Dave Lasky because we're terribly excited. So I don't know if you know, I mean, we have explained to some of you, the Sales Institute is owned 52% by a company called LRMG. They acquired us 2 years ago. When I first started there, Dave did head up their new business development division. They call them activators. And over the last 2 years, I've got to know Dave. And he genuinely is probably the best person I know around lead generation and new business. He spent 20 years at top of funnel. And we know that when people say to us, what are our biggest challenges? They tell us, how do we get new customers? How do we close more sales? Dave solves that problem of how you get new appointments and new customers. So please, if you, I just wanted you to see his face. He will do the next presentation, but if you want to talk about diagnostic, you want some of Dave's time to talk about your lead generation and whether you have the right people and the right structures and you're doing it in the right way. He's promised me he will gladly give you an hour of his time to discuss these things and, give you some guidance. He's taken over that part of our business as well. So he delivers our new business development components. So we're very excited to have him. We kind of headhunted him from LRMG. They weren't happy with us, but we're very excited to have him with us. He really is the man in this area. So anytime you want to chat about top of funnel, hopefully you know what I mean by top of funnel. It's new business or lead generation. He's the guy. So Dave, it's brilliant to have you with us.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for those very kind words. The word master is a bit strong. I wouldn't quite use the master word. I'm a mere mortal who's been in the space for 20 years, who's struggled like the rest of us. So yeah, but to reiterate, it's a great pleasure, everybody, to be part of the session. Thanks, Tim, for having me. Thanks, Jean. And please, folks, if you're out there and lead generation's keeping you awake at night, please take Tim up on his offer. Happily to connect you for an hour, do a bit of a diagnostic. But next time, I'll share some insights around how you can shift from spaghetti thin to Python fat funnel.
We love that. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that completes our session for today. Those of you that are registered will get the recording. And of course, you know where we are, so please reach out if you feel you need to. We look forward to hearing from you. And your feedback is very, very valuable to us. So please let us know how you're going and how you're enjoying what we're doing every month. And we'll look forward to giving you all the new stuff that we want to do next year, next financial year, 1st of March onwards. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much. Thanks, Tim, for that awesome session today. Dave, look forward to your next one. And thank you and goodbye.
Cheers, everybody.